Yo, what up, boy? All right, so first and foremost, thank you to all the new subscribers. I did post a YouTube short. Somebody recommended that to me, and it looked like it brought in a pretty decent amount of subscribers. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Um, I'm trying to get to 100 subs, baby. I want to start live streaming. I want to start live streaming so that we could just hang out, have a good time. I have a lot of really good plans for the channel, so I just need you guys' help. Continue to like, comment, subscribe. And then on top of all that, we are still doing the giveaway. We are so close to 100 subscribers. At 100 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away a Diamond Pass Royale. The way you can enter the giveaway is by leaving a comment on all of my past videos. Leave a comment on this video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a random video. I'm going to upload it to a tool and tell the tool, take a random comment. Whoever made that comment, you will be the winner. But yeah, so today's video is going to be a little bit different. I figured since the balance changes came out later than they had originally anticipated, there was a bug, which I'm sure many of you guys had seen, where people were opening up golden chests and just any type of chest and getting ridiculous rewards, like 142 Royal Champions, 50 legendary cards, stuff like that. So I think they got that figured out, and but it did cause a delay in the balance changes coming. I've also been getting some questions from some of my friends and then family members who play the game, pretty much just saying like, what are the balance changes? Like, what's different? What's changed? So today I want to give my opinion on the balance changes. We're going to go over all of them. I want to give my opinion on them, let you know what I think is going to be strong in the meta currently, and then which cards maybe are going to be falling out of the meta versus what we've been seeing over the last couple of seasons. So with that being said, let's jump straight into it by reading this first. So for May balance changes, we will be primarily address card evolutions. Currently, evolutions are too generically powerful, leading players to frequently deploy as many evolutions as possible within a single game. As a consequence, evolutions too often decide battles by themselves. They are. I mean, most evolutions are win conditions. Where was that? Evolved cards have a much higher Evolved cards have much higher deploys per match rate and deal disproportionate amounts of damage than their non-evolved counterparts. These balance changes will aim to shift evolution's power away from raw stats and towards their unique abilities. We want to encourage more strategic use of evolutions and their distinct features. So starting first, we have Archer's Evolution. They're losing 20% of their bonus hit points, and they're getting an increase in 18% of their power shot damage. I won't read every single card. So ultimately, archers now die to arrows, and then as part of the rework, they do a little bit more damage in their evolved form. My opinion on the archers. My current favorite deck in the meta, I use archers. Am I saying they're the best evolution in the game? No. Are they a terrible evolution? Absolutely not. Do I think archers needed this rework? No, but I understand where they're coming from. This is all around just a balancing of evolutions within the game. And so before, archers not dying to arrows in their evolved state, but then they were going to make the Evo Firecracker die to arrows in their evolved state. So it's kind of like they had to do it in a sense. Regardless, I think archers evolution are pretty decent. I really enjoy playing them right now. Barbarians evolution, bonus hit points, they reduce those by 12%, and then the boost, their rage state that they get into, now is going to be 1 second longer. I've been playing against a lot of Evo Barbarians. You can definitely notice that they stay raged up a lot longer. They're a lot more of a threat when approaching your tower. And other than that, they still don't die to Fireball, so not a huge change in the way that you would use them before and after. I would say Barbarians are still a good evolution. Bats Evolution. Bats at Evos, it's really one of the better conceptually one of the best evolutions that they have, but this is like the second or third time now that they've been nerfed. Personally, I run them in the same deck. My favorite deck, I run it. My favorite deck currently, alongside the Evo Archers. So, Bats Evolution first hit speed is now being doubled. So from 0.3 seconds, they will now have their first hit at 0.6 seconds. This is, I believe, an unnecessary nerf, in my opinion. However, they're still really strong. If you use them in the right situation, when you know your opponent has Zap out of cycle, or when you know your opponent may be like a card or two away from their arrows, these have came in clutch for me. So I think Bats, still a really solid evolution. Even though that this is like the second nerf that they had, I don't necessarily agree with the nerf in this case. I don't think Evo Bats were that popular in the meta. I don't think they were that disruptive compared to some of the other evolutions. But again, this is just my opinion. Battle Ram Evolution, pushback removed for heavy troops. So P.E.K.K.A, Mighty Miner, I'm assuming probably Golem isn't going to get bounced. The Mega Knight's not going to get bounced. What else won't get bounced? I don't know. Stuff along those lines. So troops that wouldn't normally get pushed back by like the bowler is no longer going to get pushed back by the Battle Ram Evolution. Makes sense. I think that, I don't know, Battle Ram Evolution, it was like B tier in my opinion. It's fun. I had a lot of fun playing it. It's a super fun evolution. I don't think it's that good. And so, in my opinion, this is a nerf. Obviously, they didn't rework it. They just removed a feature from the card that it had originally already had. So, I don't know. Battle Ram Evolution is okay. It's only going to, I mean, same as before, it's only going to be used in P.E.K.K.A beatdown, or P.E.K.K.A bridge spam decks. So, okay, here's a big one. Here's a big one, baby. Bomber Evolution is now going from 1 cycle to 2 cycles. This is huge, and I've definitely noticed a decrease in the amount of evolved bombers that are in the meta. In addition to that, tracking the cycle of the evolved bomber is significantly easier now, because it's not just like, it's so easy just to miss. You know, if you throw in arrows, there's like some huge push that you have going on, and they throw down a bomber in the mix, and it's just like lost in this sea of troops, and you arrows it all down, and the next thing you know, they're doing a drill and a bomber on you at the bridge, and you're like, what? Where? I had no idea you were even at your Evo Bomber. I don't know, situations like that. Regardless, Evo Bomber needed a nerf. I still believe it is one of, it maybe goes from S tier to A tier, in my opinion. That's just my opinion on the matter. I'm going to keep saying that the whole time, so no one, roast me if you want in the comments. I don't care. Okay, moving on. Firecracker Evolution now dies to arrows. Thank God, bro. Was the Firecracker Evolution one of the best evolutions in the game? Top ladder? No. Mid ladder? Yes. Okay. But I hate playing against the evolved Firecracker. It is impossible to get a positive elixir trade when the evolved Firecracker's on the board. And in addition to this, so it is a rework technically, so the big sparks duration and the small sparks duration both got increased. Big sparks 20%, small sparks 25%. So they last a little bit longer. And then they also added a 15% movement slowing effect, which is going to be similar to when your troops are moving through a poison spell. So they move slower, and therefore it's kind of an increase overall to the DPS that the sparks do. The little circles of flames that she leaves behind when she shoots in her evolved form. Okay, here's one. Let's see. Knight Evolution, bonus hit points reduced by 8%. I'm gonna be honest with you, there's like no difference here. Knight is probably either he's in the top 3 best evolutions in the game. And honestly, it's just hard to say if it's 1, 2, or 3. I think some people would argue he's the best evolution in the game. I think that he's probably number 2 behind the Evo Tesla, which we'll get to in just a moment. So yeah, they need to do something about the Knight, in my opinion. And they also need to do something about the Giant. Not the Royal Giant, but the regular Giant. But that'll be half a year away. Thank you, Supercell. Okay, Mortar Evolution. Bonus hit points reduced by 17%. So it now has the same health as the regular Mortar. Okay, top of ladder, like top 1,000 players. Mortar, awesome, super good card. Put it down on defense, great defensive card. You have offensive pressure with it. However, I don't know, maybe I just suck with it, but I think it's a higher skill card to use. Same as Expo. Expo sucks, okay, but it is a kind of skillful deck to try and get it locked on the tower. Like, using Expo as your win condition, using Mortar never is your sole win condition. Normally it's used in like a control deck, or recently you've been seeing it in a lot of graveyard decks. It's really hard to use these types of cards as win conditions. Either way, am I happy about the nerf? Selfishly, yeah, I am. I think that the Mortar Evolution, like anytime you nerf a card that I hate playing against, I'll be happy about. But at the end of the day, did it deserve the nerf? No. Is it the best evolution in the game? No. Is it the worst evolution in the game? No. It's probably like just a C tier evolution. Which honestly, all the evolved cards, like they should all be C tier evolutions. Okay, Royal Giant, Rework, Royal Recruits, Rework. Both of them are receiving evolved bonus hit point reductions. No bonus hit points for either the Royal Recruits Evolution or the Royal Giant Evolution. They now have the same health as their non-evolved forms. However, the non-evolved forms of both of these cards got hit point increases. So plus 3% for the Royal Giant, plus 3% for the Royal Recruits. That is a net negative 7% on the evolved Royal Recruits, and a net negative 6% on the evolved Royal Giant. I loved playing Royal Giant last season. It was my favorite deck to play. It was a lot of fun. Now, I don't even think it deserves an Evo spot in your decks. If you're going to play Royal Giant, just use the non-evolved forms. Royal Recruits, on the other hand, I've been seeing them make a resurgence in the meta, but it's not because Royal Recruits are good, so to speak. It's more so that it's a really good deck to use against the Dagger Duchess. I've been seeing it in combination with a lot of Swarmy cards. So you see it with, like, I don't know, Skeleton Barrel, Mighty Miner, Goblin Gang, Dark Goblin, Wallbreakers, like all in one deck, because the dagger has like 8 daggers and then it's out, and all of a sudden you have 15 2 and 3 elixir cards rushing your tower, hidden behind some Royal Recruits that are still left over from you trying to clean them up, and it just gets messy quick if you're not good on defense. Skeleton Evolutions, same as the bats. First hit speed increased 25%. They now hit slower. They're okay. They're good. They're good. They're situational. Right now, there's a ton of spells in the meta. Most decks are running triple spell. I shouldn't say most, but a lot of decks are running triple spell. So the times where you're going to really be able to get your skeletons, Evo skeletons, a lot of value are going to be greatly reduced. So, but the times where you can counter an entire P.E.K.K.A. for 1 elixir, that can be a game-winning moment, right? So, they're hit or miss. I think that they're good for a cycle. I think they're probably B tier, in my opinion. A tier, B, A, somewhere in that range, B+. Let's see, couple more. Tesla Evolution, bonus hit points reduced, now has the same hit points as the Evo Tesla, or sorry, as the non-evolved Tesla. Thank God, dude. The evolved Tesla, prior to these balance changes, would stay on the map, I kid you not, like half the game. It was absolutely ridiculous, so annoying. Prevented you from being able to put offensive pressure, and it was just bad. But it's a rework, and technically, even though it's a rework, so it's a buff or a nerf, the rework aspect of it, I think, ultimately makes the Tesla Evolution even better than it was before. So now the Evolution also emits the electro pulse that it would do when it pops up out of the ground when it is destroyed as well. There's currently a bug in the game, so as you know, buildings have timers, and when the timer runs out, the building gets destroyed. So does the Tesla. And so if the timer runs out right now while and then the Tesla gets destroyed, it doesn't emit the pulse. But they're going to do a maintenance break, I think they said next week, and they're going to fix that. So when it dies, when it's gone, it puts the pulse out. So Tesla Evolution, S tier, probably the best evolution in the game. It's right up there with either the Evo Knight, the Tesla, and then maybe Skeleton's Evolution. Maybe. It's kind of hard to say. Those are definitely the two best evolutions in the game, though. Valkyrie Evolution. I hate playing against Valkyrie. She did get a bonus hit point reduction by 4%. However, her tornado damage now kills bats and skeletons in one twirl. I hate that. I think that the Valkyrie Evolution is underrated, underused, and if it catches into the meta, I might just have to take a break from the game. Because when I play against an evolved Valkyrie, it just drives me crazy. Like, it just pulls everything directly to her. The radius of the pull is ginormous. She has the bonus hit points. Her tornado now does more damage. It's kind of crazy. But, yeah. Okay, Wallbreaker's Evolution. Runner damage decreased by 50%, but the runner speed now goes from fast to very fast. Wallbreakers were already kind of in a bad spot. In this meta with the Dagger Duchess, we're seeing a little bit of a resurgence right now with some of the swarmy decks, like I mentioned a moment ago with the Royal Recruits. But the Wallbreaker Evolution is decent. I think it's conditional. I think it's hard to play. It's not good in a lot of matchups currently in the meta, but I don't think it's a bad evolution. I think they may have nerfed it too much at this point, but we will have to see as time progresses. Zap Evolution, second and third zap damage reduced by 50%. So, as I believe, so this nerf will make the card more about the stun. Absolutely. The damage potential of an Evo Zap in combination with arrows, in combination with poison, you could close out a game really early, just by, spell cycling. So I think this is a good change. I still think it's a good evolution. It might be the third best evolution, but you're not going to be using it anymore to really spell cycle an opponent's tower down. So I like this change. I think it's balanced. Okay, Cannoneer. This was unnecessary. Cannoneer damage reduction by 5%. Cannoneer already was mid, still better than the Princess Tower, but it's mid, and I don't think it deserved the damage. And I think if they would have left the Cannoneer alone and then just did the Dagger Duchess nerf, we might have seen a few more players running the Cannoneer. But the reality of the situation is, with the Cannoneer nerf and the Dagger Duchess nerf, the Dagger Duchess by far is still the best tower in the game. So that jumps us over to Dagger Duchess. Hit point reduction by 14%. Doesn't matter. The hit points were never the problem. If you're not taking damage because the Dagger Duchess is destroying everything and you're constantly able to put offensive pressure, then it doesn't matter how many hit points you have, right? I mean, I guess it does. I'm being dramatic, but it's like, this wasn't enough. They needed to reduce her DPS. They needed to take one dagger away. They needed to do something else for her, increase the recharge rate of her daggers, make it longer. There was a lot of other things that they could have and should have done, but, I guess a nerf is a nerf, and it's probably just one of many to come. So we'll see where that ends up going. Elixir Collector. This one's confusing to me, so I won't spend too much time on it, but the production speed increased by 33%, and the lifetime increased by 32%. So ultimately, it's going to give you the same amount of elixir. It's just going to take longer to do so. So what that means is when you put an elixir pump down on the board, you need to be extra cautious and extra careful because your opponents will put immediate pressure on the board because you're not going to get an elixir back from that 6 elixir cost until 33% longer, if that makes sense. It's going to take 33% longer for you to get that initial elixir back. So I think Elixir Collector is going to probably be dead other than Void Spell Bait. I've noticed that a lot of people are running the Elixir Collector still because ultimately you still have to address it. You don't want your opponent having a huge elixir advantage over you. So you're going to avoid it. You might arrows on it. You might lightning on it. But now I feel like the Elixir Collector is less there for the elixir advantage, but more so to put you, the opponent, into a tough situation. Do I save my Void Spell for the Elixir Collector? Or do I save my Void Spell for their little prince? Do I save my Void Spell for their Electro Dragon, their Eye Dragon, their Wizard? So it's kind of a weird situation. But again, a lot of people are running double and triple spell, so, you know, it works out in the end. Goblin Drill. First spawn increased by 60%. This is heavily, heavily noticeable. The first spawn of the very first goblin that comes out of the Goblin Drill is drastically delayed. Now, I still believe you have to try your best to predict. They say here, it was too hard to counter without predicting the placement. I still believe you have to predict the placement, and here's why. When it comes up in front of the tower, you're not going to be able to squeeze a knight, a bomber, or any type of counter troop in between the drill and your tower. You're gonna, best you can do is put it off to the left, put it off to the right, and then that first goblin that spawns just immediately gets on your tower and starts doing damage. Okay, so you still have to predict the spawn. Am I happy about the nerf? Yes. Have I been seeing less Goblin Drill? Yes. Those are two good things. Do I think it was enough? No. Do I know what they should have done differently? No, actually, I don't. I think balancing the Goblin Drill is just way too tricky, and I honestly do not know what I would have done in this situation if I was a dev. And so I guess we'll just take what we can get for now. Last but not least, Poison Spell. This one they snuck in at the very end, and I am actually very happy about this one. So Crown Tower damage per second reduced from 28 per tick to 23 per tick. That's an 18% reduction. Poison was the #1 spell for spell cycling an opponent in OT and just trying to close out a game. Spell cycling, poison, poison, poison. It's still a great defensive spell. Using poison on defense is underrated. And here's the thing. Do I think it was an absolutely necessary nerf? No. Do I think it was a thoughtful nerf that they threw in there last minute and it's a good one? Yes. Have I personally noticed a big difference in my games? No. I still get closed out with poison. I still get spell cycled with poison. It still does a ton of damage. It's just probably going to make it a little bit harder in those rare instances where your tower is 50 HP over and the opponent's not used to the new balance changes and they throw that last poison down thinking they're going to win. They don't win and you have some big counter push coming. So, but as soon as people get adjusted to the amount of damage poison does now, it's not going to make a difference. You're still going to get poisoned out. So, yeah, man, that's really it for the balance changes. Now I want to jump over and on Royale API go over some of the most popular decks that we're seeing in the meta over the course of the last 3 days. So the balances came out on Tuesday, and currently we're seeing Giant, popular, Void, very popular. Also, Evo Wizard, I've been noticing a little bit back in the meta, but like these giant beatdown decks, Giant with Bomber, Giant with Night Witch, Giant with Graveyard, Giant with Balloon, like all of these things are still the most popular decks. Now, I will admit, in addition to these decks, we've been seeing a resurgence of Expo. We've been seeing a resurgence of Logbait coming back into the meta. And that's kind of fun to see. Like, I want a diverse meta. I don't want to load into a game. The opponent plays a Phoenix, and I immediately know I'm in for a giant beatdown deck. Okay? I'm just tired of it. I want to play against something new. I want to play against something fresh. I want it to be about skill and less about just putting cards down in the back and then putting a giant down in the back and then putting a bunch of stuff in front of it, or putting a bunch of stuff in the back and then throwing a giant down at the bridge. Like, that's just not fun. I'm just tired of it. So either way. Okay, P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam. Evo Wizard now in it. Still using the Evolved Zap, but now instead of Lightning, we have Void Spell. Void Spell is a great substitute for Lightning. However, I believe that it requires a higher skill level to be able to accurately and quickly place the Void Spell so it will kill a single target. You want to be using it on little princes on an offensive push, on wizards, anything 3 elixir or more. Instant great choice. Now, when you start getting into higher, if you're not good and you're not fast enough, opponents will predict your placement, and that's 3 elixir down the drain and you lose. So it's kind of a toss-up. I personally believe that Lightning is still better than the Void Spell in most cases. If you're a high skill player, you want to experiment with the new card, and you're looking to have game-changing positive elixir trades, killing a fisherman before it pulls your royal giant, killing pumps for an even better trade than I believe the earthquake had. Like, the void spell is a great option. If you don't feel like you're capable of doing those things, or you don't feel like you want to take the risks of that, then the lightning's probably the safer bet. Let's see, giant graveyard, no surprise there. Here's the giant beatdown deck, literally card for card. No, okay, void spells in there now instead of lightning for the giant beatdown deck with Evo Bomber and Evo Recruits. I was running this deck here with the Night Witch and the giant at the beginning of the season. It's fun. I wasn't the best with it, is what it is. So here we see some more giant, some more giant. Okay, some type of control deck with graveyard. That's cool. Here's some log bait. Of course, we have Lava Loon, never going away. Always annoying. Here's some more log bait. Let's see, some more Pekka Bridge spam. Some more Lava Hound. So, okay, here we go. Here's one. 2.6 Hog has evolved, baby. This is, I believe, OG 2.6 Hog. There's a new version of 2.6 Hog as well, and it's really cool to see. I like seeing OG decks come back into the meta. I think it's a lot of fun. Let's see, more Lava Hound, more Lava Hound. Here's a drill deck a lot further down on the list now. Here's a Golem deck. So ultimately, the meta is pretty much the same right now. It's kind of unfortunate to see. I was hoping that these balance changes, the introduction of the new evolution, the introduction of the new spell would shift the meta in other directions, but that doesn't ultimately seem to be the case. There's still time in the season. There's still time to see what ends up happening, but for now, we got what we got. So for those of you that stuck around this long, first of all, thank you. I doubt it, but, you know, whoever. I hope this was informative. I hope my opinion helps maybe shape what you, you know, play evolution-wise. Got to see a little bit of the current decks in the meta. I know this wasn't a gameplay video. I just wanted to make this. I wanted to get some content out to you guys. I'll upload a content, gameplay, ladder-related video over the weekend. And other than that, I super appreciate you guys. Continue to like, comment, subscribe. Giveaway at 100 subscribers. And that is it, baby. I'm out. Peace. Love.